you've reached peak couple energy when your undies match. MeUndies Match Me has you both covered, literally, in super soft ultra-modal undies, socks, PJs, and loungewear. Festive prints? Check. Cozy vibes? Double check. And right now, it's deal season. Get up to 50% off site-wide for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Take your couple game to the next level with MeUndies Match Me. To get deals up to 50% off, go to MeUndies.com/comfort, promo code COMFORT. That's MeUndies.com/comfort, code COMFORT.
I'm wearing headphones, a button-up, and mesh pants.
Mesh pants.
'Cause it's Witchcast.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Kate.
And we're your hosts.
Yeah.
And today we are talking about something really exciting.
Yes.
Spells and potions. Spells and potions, a really wide thing. Super broad topic. We're covering it all. We're not going to cover it all.
I love that song.
Thank you. I wrote it ahead of time.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
We have also a guest with us today.
Yes, a very, very special guest that I've been waiting to bring on for some time, and I think he's perfect for this topic. Is my good friend and very wonderful witch, Rowan Rivers.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Thanks for being here. Welcome.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yay.
Also, by the way, speaking of songs, real quick, isn't there a Nicki Minaj song called Spells and Potions?
Is there?
All I think about. We'll put it on our playlist.
Yeah, we have to. How did I not?
Also, we haven't told our listeners, but Emily and I made a collaborative Spotify playlist of all of our favorite witchy songs.
Oh, yeah, we did.
So we'll post it.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I listen to it honestly a lot.
I mean, I do too. I really do.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Rowan. You'll love it.
Yay, I
Feel
can't
free
wait.
to add stuff.
Yeah, feel free to add stuff. Yeah. So Witchcast podcast, where Emily and I are a couple of funny
Casual, eclectic, comedian,
witches. We are always been, this is your first time listening, this is our 5th episode ever, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
And we've always been really interested in this stuff, but always wanted to learn more, and we decided to actually do that via a podcast, because why not?
Yeah, and help other people by helping ourselves.
Exactly.
Just let everybody else come along on our witch casting journey.
Yeah. And inviting really special guests like Rowan, who've been practicing for much longer, to let us know what they like to practice and what they believe in, what they've learned. So
yeah, talking about just what they know and
and how they do.
That's right.
So Rowan, tell us about you. Like, how do you? So I feel like I've known you for years, but and I know I've kind of watched you grow and go through all different kind of areas. Growing Grivers. Okay, that's terrible. I love it. You've kind of dabbled in a lot of different areas. So what would you say? How you identify as a practitioner now?
Yeah. That's a great question. It's one I actually found myself trying to explain to my father-in-law the other day, so I feel like a little warmed up for this right now.
Nice. But you're a lot less intimidating, I feel like, than a father-in-law.
Right? Yeah. He was like, so tell me about your job. And I described myself basically as being spiritually versatile. And I feel like that's probably the best way to go with it. In terms of, like, witchcraft, I was raised Protestant and then converted to Catholicism when I was 13, and then when I was in college, actually right around the time when we met, Kate, I was just starting to really get into magic and all of that stuff, and that came about because I was like reading his dark materials, and I woke up in the middle of the night one day and I was like, oh my god, I don't believe in the Catholic Church. So I started just like researching all the shit I did believe in, like any time in my life that I'd felt something spiritually significant, and that led me to paganism. And since then I have studied like so many things. I've been studying Anderson Fairy witchcraft, which I heard you mention in, I think it was the History of Witchcraft, your first podcast.
Oh, yes.
Thanks.
Yes, that was cool. Like, shout out to Anderson Fairy. It's one of the smallest traditions of witchcraft that there is out there, but it's also an extremely influential one. It's gotten sort of its fingers into all these other different traditions as well. And so I've been studying that, and I'm a practitioner of that. I've also studied African diasporic religions for a long time.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I would not call them witchcraft. But I am an Aberrisha. So I've been initiated into them. And there's a lot of... I bring it up because, like, I find that the spiritual landscape is really wide and vast. And we don't always have the same words for talking about the same things. Even though we may be doing stuff that's really, really similar. Yeah, and then I've practiced like hoodoo, American folk magic. I'm writing a book on Filipino magical practices right now because I'm part Filipino. So lots.
It's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, I mean, wow. You're basically, your background is like our History of Witchcraft episode.
I feel like we could do an entire season of this just interviewing you on each thing that you've studied.
Yeah, I really want to know more about...
Season 3, the Rowan Diaries.
Yeah, the Rowan Diaries. Rowan and growing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to...
No, I love it. I honestly love it. Wait, so Rowan, what's the African thing you just said? I've never heard of that. What is that?
Yeah, so there's a term, either African diasporic religions or African traditional religions, either ADR or ATR, that refer to things like Santeria or Voodoo or Candomblé. And these are religions that sort of popped up in colonized countries and locations that had influences that were part Catholic because of the colonizers and part coming from their indigenous, countries and cultures. And so they're kind of hybrid religions.
Very cool. Yeah, we would eventually, I think, in future seasons, I would love to dive deeper into each one of those. That would be super fascinating.
We actually, a little bit of business podcast-wise is that we have 2 more episodes left, I guess, in season 1, and then we're going to figure out what season 2 looks like, which might mean a little tiny break, but we're coming back.
Yeah, I mean, so you've been such a wonderful friend and listener. So you know that like a lot of the stuff we talk about is so top line because like you said, it's so fucking vast. It's like there's so much information. Like I knew there was, but since we've started this,
I'm learning so much, and it
blows my mind. Yeah.
It's totally overwhelming. I totally identify with that.
Which is like, I mean, but that's why we wanted to do this, to kind of make it a more accessible, format for those people who maybe, because...
overwhelmed like us.
Who are overwhelmed like us.
Take it upon ourselves to try and figure this out.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so, well, we, like we said, this topic today is really another one of those very vast topics. And Emily, you had this time the origins, right? The history of like spells.
That's right. I'm up first today.
Potions.
Wee.
I'm gonna sit over here and sip my wine. So let's dive in.
All right. Okay. So you know what? I wrote down like, what is a potion? What is a spell? But I feel like people kind of know. Generally, I could say some of the interesting things I learned about just in looking at like the history of the words. A potion, the word potion is from Latin for potio, to drink. So pretty simple. And then similarly, spell is like, I never even thought about this correlation before, but spelling, is a word that we use, like it just means
spelling
words is like to put the letters in the right order
to make something,
and a spell is to put words in the right order.
I love that.
Or to put like an intent.
What beautiful etymology.
Yeah, something really interesting to think about. But I'm going to mostly just skip all of these because I don't think I really need to define potion and spell.
Yeah, but I mean, well, I will say that in my research, and I don't know if you realize this too, but like, it's not so easy to just be like, spells, Google, tell me what the history... Like,
It's such a... I think it really is like, the history isn't one history. It's like everything else with this. It's across cultures. Mm-hmm. And, and today we have like sort of a beautiful blending of different cultures and also, people doing the original thing. But it doesn't really mean just one thing. But basically, potions are usually a liquid, something that can be ingested or to be put on something that it's sort of associated with witchcraft and alchemy, and I'll get to this in a minute, but basically a lot of sort of traditional folk potions are the root of modern medicine, which is really interesting and not something that, because potions are not something that I've really, as like in my witchy practice or sometimes lack thereof, really experimented with, and it's not something I really... When you think of the word potion, you think of like Disney movies, I feel like. Yeah. And that's really not
bubbling.
The history of it, is that it's more... I mean, there are definitely people that took advantage of the fact that there were things that worked and that maybe didn't make potions that did anything worth thinking about. But there are also lots of people that did some really interesting and beneficial to our world things that would fall in the potion category. But I'll get back to that later.
It kind of reminds me, though, like, of what we talked about in our very first episode was, like, I mean, I feel like, you know, witches back then were folk doctors, basically.
Right. I wrote so much about exactly that and how much it... Yeah. No, it definitely overlaps with our first episode. And then, so a spell is... What is a spell? It's an incantation or a magic formula that's intended to trigger a specific, probably magical effect on a person or on an object. It could be spoken, it could be sung, it could be chanted. It's also, you know, sort of associated with ceremonial rituals or prayers. I mean, one could argue that a lot of what you do in the Catholic Church is not that different from a spell. I mean, you're asking for something from a greater source than yourself by using a specific set of words in a specific way.
Yeah, this is actually a part of the book that I'm writing, so keep going. I'm totally with you.
Yay!
Yeah, we talked about this, I think, a little bit too, but, like, you know, in the history, like, they took pagan rituals and then they kind of reworked them to make it work for Christianity.
Yeah. Like, spreading Christianity, a big part of that was basically working in aspects of the existing structures and then discrediting the people
who came up with them,
that were doing them previously. So it was familiar, and then once it's familiar and kind of worked in, then you start going, well, why did they do that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Catholic Church uses incense, they drink wine. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Okay,
it's a whole thing. It's exactly right. Okay, so getting into the meat of what I wrote. So, spells are basically a cornerstone of a lot of Wiccan and eclectic witch-type practices. Not everyone does spells, but lots of people do. It's not necessarily a required aspect, and I think we touched on this in the tarot episode. I don't know if it made it into the final cut, but we certainly talked about how there are lots of people that practice Wicca or other sort of related religions that don't necessarily do
magic,
any sort of spells at home or anything like that. They go to the Sabbath, they, you know, whatever else. Okay, so like I said, potions are not something I've really dabbled in. It's, you know, being honest, before I really started looking into it, there was a little piece of me that was like, I don't see potions being part of my practice, but I think I'm wrong. Because once you look more into it and when you really think about it, well, first of all, spells and potions are intertwined, but certainly their history is intertwined. Potions,
really great.
Thank you. When I listened back to this, I meant to say this, like, on the podcast. When I listened back to this, I'm always like, wow, Kate is so supportive of me, and I love her so much.
I have the exact same thought, because I feel like I listen back and I'm like, oh, Emily's so sweet to me, and I never say anything nice back.
Oh, are you kidding? You're so nice to me.
I love our love.
I love our love. All right, I'm just going to read this, and then I can always cut it out later.
Do it.
So potions, if anything, have always sort of seemed more abstract to me, but in fact, they're probably one of the more practical and realistic aspects of ancient and modern magic in a lot of ways. So magic potions, the name being a little bit misleading, are the root of a lot of our modern medicines, cooking, drink making, certainly herbal supplements, but also, like, traditional, like, Western medicine drugs with like druggy names, which I will talk about. Ooh. So in fact, if you want to hear more examples than we talk about of direct lines from medieval witches to Western medicine, because I found one that was mostly about medieval witches, but there's examples of this across cultures. But I found this incredible article called How Witches' Brews Helped Bring Modern Drugs to Market from Smithsonian Magazine, that maybe we can link to somewhere. But but for an example, so there was a female folk healer. In the article, they call her a gypsy healer. I don't know, that feels wrong, but maybe that's the only record they have of what she was, but maybe she was Roma, who knows. A female folk healer in 1775 used purple foxglove in a remedy for dropsy being a name for a swelling probably caused by heart disease, where doctors at the time were failing the patient. So the patient went to these doctors, nothing was helping that they had, so he went to this sort of supposed folk healer, gypsy doctor kind of person, and she gave him a thing, and it had purple foxglove in it, and it worked. Mm-hmm. And he was fine, or not fine, but like it helped with his symptoms.
Better,
and then so then that led those doctors, legitimized healers because of the system and the patriarchy, to do some research and figure out that the digitalis plant, which is the purple foxglove, when it was dried and ground up, helped with heart failure Duh. And then that gave us now modern heart failure drugs that use the same ingredients, but they just have proper drug names like digoxin and digitoxin.
No way.
But it's purple foxglove in there.
It's witchcraft.
It's witchcraft. Medicine is witchcraft.
Amen.
But
Take
there are,
that, big pharma. Yeah.
and there are so many other similar examples. They have that article is great, but there's a lot more that you can find out there. Anyway, so the history of spells and potions intertwine. They can also diverge. Not everyone who does one does the other. Not everyone who did one historically did the other, but I'm going to try and give a basic chronological overview of this very broad topic. Okay, so we're going to begin in the ancient world, where Smithsonian Magazine once again pinch hits for me. I love them. Do I want to pay for a Smithsonian subscription? I don't know. Maybe when I'm rich and famous.
Yeah. I'll share one with you when we're rich and famous.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll give a little money to Smithsonian when we're rich and famous.
We've been using them a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like, although this could be because I watched a lot of cartoons that weirdly incorporated Egyptian mythology as a kid, but I feel like we all know that ancient Egyptians were, like, super into magic.
Yes.
But according to ancient.eu, I didn't know, I guess I knew what I feel like the cartoon of Aladdin taught me maybe, but I'm learning a lot more now.
Oh.
Gargoyles? I don't know. Could have been anything.
I was thinking, like, I was about to say Legends of the Hidden Temple, but that was different. That was like Mesoamerica.
Yeah, that's
okay. Whatever.
Yeah,
anyway.
Doesn't matter. So, according to ancient.eu, the Ancient History Encyclopedia, which is a website, Egyptians used amulets with symbolism and tattoos, as well as spellcasting and herbal remedies.
Nice.
And there's a lot one could dive into for any one of literally all of the cultures ever. But here's a quote I really liked from ancient.eu. Magic in ancient Egypt was not a parlor trick or illusion. It was the harnessing of the powers of natural laws conceived as supernatural entities in order to achieve a certain goal. To the Egyptians, a world without magic was inconceivable. It was through magic that the world had been created. Magic sustained the world daily. Magic healed when one was sick, gave when one had nothing, and assured one of eternal life after death. The Egyptologist James Henry Breasted has famously remarked, I'm not going to comment on that name, has famously remarked how magic infused every aspect of ancient Egyptian life and was as much a matter of course as sleep or the preparation of food. Magic was present in one's conception, birth, life, death, and afterlife, and was represented by a god who was older than creation. And that god was named Heka.
Oh, amazing. And they built the motherfucking pyramids, so who's right? Probably Egyptians.
Yeah. We still don't really know how to do that.
I know. Aliens. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, the aliens came. And then so in ancient Greece and Rome, on the other hand, magic was also performed, but was less fully ingrained into their way of life. It seems like it was fairly widely accepted, although there were some laws about it and like not doing certain things, but it was primarily like binding spell casting and amulets, which would carry those spells. So whereas Egyptian life had it sort of everywhere, ancient Greece and Rome, you would see a lot more spell casting, which is why it's relevant to this episode.
It's all relevant.
It's all relevant, baby. So in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, you didn't just say spells like we do now. You had to write them down. So you'd put them on an amulet and you'd carry that around. And then the spell would tie you, back to the Smithsonian here, would tie you to like love or revenge, curses, even a particular outcome for a sporting event. People never change.
Yeah. I mean, like, right, it's like a guy who always wears the same jersey for every, like, game. I was about to say show. Every game of his team. Same thing. That's a spell.
Yeah, and they would, like, write it on a tiny amulet and carry it around.
I love that. I want to start doing that, actually.
Yeah, I know. That would be really funny. I have a note that's like, should we do this?
Yeah,
but it's like... and Kate, you very astutely pointed out that in particular the curse tablets that they used, which were like tiny little amulets with your spell written down on them that cursed someone like revenge style for you, were like ancient burn books.
Yeah.
A way of putting it that I love.
Yeah, it's like Cleopatra is a fugly whore. That's how I imagine it in my head.
I like that. And so they're still finding and decoding like little amulets and stuff like that today. Apparently in 2008, Swiss archaeologists found a gold scroll in a silver amulet capsule that was thought to belong to an ancient Roman child. And in 2011, archaeologists uncovered an amulet in Cyprus that was engraved with a palindromic spell. And these things look basically like cute necklaces if you see them, but and I would totally buy them, but they were taken very seriously, and they probably should be taken seriously because wearing a curse of someone around your neck is pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's like metal. That's like super metal.
Super metal.
Also, quick sidebar, like,
hit me.
I don't remember the name of this, but there's like this children's show where the main character is like a little cartoon girl. It's a cartoon, but she wears a magic amulet around her neck.
Red.
And so I like to wear crystals around my neck every day. I feel really weird if I forget my crystal at home I switch them out. But every time I meet a small little girl, like a friend's child or something, and I want to bond with them, I'm like, look at my magic amulet. And they love it. They get really into it. They're like, ooh, that's so cool. Can I touch it? What is that? Like, children love amulets.
Yeah. And I mean, like, cottages made out of gingerbread are so out of fashion, so.
I know, right? If there's anything you want to jump in on, please feel free.
Yeah. Talk more, Rowan.
Oh, okay. I will just say I've loved everything that you've been saying so far. Like, especially how you were like tying in potions into like the history of pharmaceuticals. That made my heart smile. Because that's totally where like a lot of this stuff comes from. And here's a little historical soundbite for Witchcast. A lot of people don't realize that the first pharmacy that opened in the U.S. didn't open until I think it was like the mid 1820s or something like that. And it opened in New Orleans, where a lot of herbal lore was being practiced at the time. So like the history of like medicine and your insurance and all that is also intertwined with the history of folk magic. They are not separate.
Yeah.
That makes me like it a little more. That makes me like pharma, I guess, a little more.
I don't know about that.
Not pharma, not big pharma,
I mean,
but
not like Martin Shkreli pharma.
No.
More like, chewing white willow bark in order to get rid of your headache pharma.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The history of our medicine. Anyway.
Yeah.
Continue, Emily.
Anyway, so spells and potions present in the ancient world for shizzle. As we move closer to today, we can look at magic in the medieval era. So some of this overlaps with our first episode, but there's some truly fascinating stuff in here. I'm repeating myself, that's fine. First up, I have to recommend this article from History Extra, which is apparently the official website for BBC History Magazine, BBC History Revealed, and BBC World Histories Magazine.
Wow.
Something I was like, what is historyextra.com? And then I was like, oh, it's BBC, it's legit. Cool.
Nice.
So this article, it's by Hedda Howes. It's called A Brief History of Medieval Magic. And it talks a lot about what we talked about in our first episode, but with some other interesting tidbits and stuff. It talks about the move from in the 14th century when witchcraft was generally considered a male thing. Guys were being tried for necromancy, but mostly the church didn't really think of witchcraft as a huge threat, to the 15th century when women become the primary target of, let's call it, anti-witch sentiment, with the Malleus Maleficarum. And then, it basically went from the church not believing in witches as of like the 10th century to hunting dem witches in the 15th century.
Hunting dem witches.
I wrote that down as that, and I feel like it's the kind of thing that I shouldn't say out loud, but I did it anyway.
I love it.
Work.
Anyway, but that's not what we're talking about today, that whole switch. We talked about that. But what we are talking about is how in medieval Europe, so the line between science and witchcraft was very thin.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote directly from this article because I think that it's got a lot of good stuff in it. And there's, why not? Okay, so she says, William of Auvergne, a 13th century French priest and bishop, condemned most magic as superstition. However, he admitted that some works of, quote, natural magic should be viewed as a branch of science. As long as practitioners didn't use this natural magic for evil, they weren't doing anything criminal. So sealskin could be used as a charm to repel lightning. Vulture body parts could be used as a protective amulet. Gardeners could get virgins to plant their olive trees. And then... this was, after all, a scientific way of promoting their growth.
Absolutely.
A number of healing practices from the Middle Ages, on the flip side, also sound very much like magic to a modern reader. So a doctor might instruct physicians to place the herb vervain in their patient's hand, and the presence of the herb would, it was thought, cause the patient to speak his or her fate truthfully, offering the physician an accurate prognosis.
Whoa, like a truth serum of sorts.
Yeah, but it was holding an herb in your hand, and that was your doctor.
Yeah.
So, the roots of modern medicine.
Checks out.
Sympathetic magic was another well-known technique. It used imitation to produce effective results. So, for example, liver of vulture might be prescribed as medicine for a patient suffering from liver complaints. Meanwhile, narrative charms, a complex version of sympathetic magic hinged on the belief that telling a particular story could help channel healing power to the patient, were usually accompanied by a more medical application like a poultice. I see, or like a poultice. So according to one medical treatise, wool soaked in olive oil from the Mount of Olives could staunch blood when coupled with a spoken story about Longinus, a man who was famously healed of his blindness by the blood of Christ. So religious elements were blended with the magical.
I mean, that makes sense, though. Like, I think that's very similar to, like, that today's belief that, cancer patients, need to have kind of positive affirmations, and it's about combining like kind of mental and emotional, spiritual health with physical health. You have to have both in order for things to really work well, right?
Yeah.
If you're incredibly depressed and very negative about the outcome, your body physiologically will respond in that nature, I feel like.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Well, and I feel like really what you guys are talking about is like the really slippery area about like what is magic, what is witchcraft.
Right, exactly.
Because, like, for me, from my personal standpoint, I feel like magic is just, like, ritual within a spiritual context that's aimed at, like, a specific outcome.
Yeah. Right.
But we all have our rituals for doing things. And, like, the ritual of taking your medicine can or cannot have a spiritual component to it. But if you decide that it's a spell and you recite these words of power while you take your medicine, somehow it reinforces the whole ritual on, like, this totally other level that can make it more effective for us.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a really
cool
beautiful way to
think about
define
it. Yeah.
magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put that on a t-shirt. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So wrapping up my history bit. So basically, medieval age, or Middle Ages kind of time, healing practices are sort of all intertwined with religion and with what one might call witchcraft, and are basically, they're one and the same, but just with sort of a line drawn basically based on who's legitimized by the system more than anything else. And then we know what happened, which is that witch stuff becomes illegal, along with a lot of folk healers being ostracized. And then, the difference between a doctor and a witch doctor is basically just who the system says is legitimate. And then that's basically still stayed true. It is what I feel like I've learned through all of this,
right.
Is that we draw, like, culturally a pretty strong line between what's folk medicine and alternative medicine and what's traditional medicine. But when you look at the cold, hard facts, the two have basically, if often covertly, been intertwined throughout history.
Yeah. And
one has fed the other significantly. That's not to say that rolling around in honey and grain will murder a bad husband. We're all looking at you, medieval witches, but folk medicine, has led to a lot of legitimized medicine. For example, ephedrine for asthma came out of ancient Chinese healing techniques, and whereas legitimized medicine gave out cocaine not that long ago.
Right.
So, see your doctor when you need to, but maybe rethink that boundary.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful, Emily. Well done.
Thanks.
I think this is something that we've talked about in like every episode, that it's really about everything is a construct, right? Everything we use in our lives as humans is a construct. Yeah, and it depends on who's to say what works and what doesn't. And you can use both, kind of witchcraft or spirituality or wellness or new age based kind of practices along with what we call contemporary Western medicine. But how is going to Liquiteria and ordering, a concoction of like a spinach green juice, like different than, steeping herbs in a tea to drink for like a sound mind? Like, you have tummy
especially when one has a long history of like, go ahead.
Oh no! I was just going to riff off of you because for me, that's like that really is the heart of like a witch is it's kind of a way of being more than it's a practice. Because again, like, all right, so you got your rituals where you go to like Jamba Juice or Robex or whatever, and you get your smoothie, and you're like, this is going to keep me healthy. But like that's your mythology. That's what you build your world around.
Yeah.
But for witches, we take like we find inspiration in different places sometimes. But it's all about taking the myths that you build your world off of and developing rituals from them that help reinforce that world so that you can negotiate it in order to give you more love when you need it, or give you more legal support when you need it, or give you more money when you need it.
Yeah.
Like, witchcraft is really about finding a way to relate to the universe so that it responds to your needs.
Yeah.
Which is the same as any other person living any other lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, isn't that just the human condition? It's just us trying to, like, make sense of
Just
why
trying
we're
to make
here.
sense of the world.
Yeah, it's the same fundamentals as, like, spell casting.
Yeah.
Like, you work with the energy of what's around you. You form a partnership with it in order to help co-create the environment that you're living in, you know, and then you try and honor each other so that everything is healthy and flowing the way you want it to.
And that's the thing. It's like, you're not like some helpless little speck. You're part of it.
Right, you're
part of all
recognizing
of
that these things are
Yeah.
around you, and
Yeah.
then you're trying to work with them.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being bandied about by it.
I love it. I love it so much.
Beautifully said. Beautifully
Okay,
said.
so I had a whole section about modern/contemporary spells and potions, and quite honestly, in my very brief rushed research today, I didn't find like too much about 1900s up till today. There was a few things that I will touch on, but then I would love to just talk about like a couple things I found about a few of the main types of magic and a few of the main types of potions, and then how one can go about starting to cast their first spell. And then, of course, Rowan, I would really love for you to chime in about any and all of that. Of course, going to our good friend Wikipedia, one thing that I thought was interesting, going back to that thing that you were saying about spelling, is that almost all spells and incantations involve some use of words in some way, which it's like blowing my mind right now that spelling and spelling are the same thing. Okay.
Right? It was one of those like slow burn things where it's like spell.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
Idiot over here, but
No,
I love it.
but like, I never would have put
and
them
then
together.
even the word enchantment comes from like encanto, to sing. So the metaphor continues.
Right, yeah, it's
It's everything.
like it's. I feel like what I'm learning. This is so. I'm
I love it.
immediately tangenting
I love
off
it.
of
No,
what you-
please.
But I feel like what I'm learning with all of this is that the world is not the walls that we're taught. You know, it's like it's not
It's not at all.
the structures that you learn growing up. It's like a much broader, more open flowing thing, which is really nice.
I'm honestly, I don't know. It's making me emotional. It's all love. It's all part of it. Okay, so in 1968, The Magical Power of Words came out by S.J. Tambia, and he argued that the connection between magic and language is due to the belief of the inherent ability of words to influence the universe, which I think any fucking person would agree with that. Like, what is it that we remember? It's like the Gettysburg Address. It's I Have a Dream. It's like fucking like words do change. Our ability to communicate and share ideas and impact others through communication, verbal communication, is what makes us human.
Right, and I have no idea if this was a hoax or not, but I read in high school, and one of my friends and I did a whole presentation on it for a science class that I feel like we did not do well in. That like saying words to water as it freezes varies how it like looks when it's frozen. I don't know.
But there was actually an artist who, this is kind of separate, but like similar. There's an artist who took tears based on different situations from whence they were cried, and then looked at them under a microscope, and then did giant prints, and the actual fucking chemical compounds were different in the tears depending on the situation.
It's wild.
Okay, that was actually kind of different, but it made me think of that.
We live in a crazy world. Go
Anyway, you talk to plants. They say to talk to plants.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So Bronislaw Malinowski wrote in this book, Coral Gardens and Their Magic in 1935, suggested that this belief about, words being impactful is an extension of man's basic use of language to describe his surroundings, in which, quote, the knowledge of the right words, appropriate phrases, and the more highly developed forms of speech gives man a power over and above his own limited field of personal action. I think that's really beautiful.
Well, I feel like that, like, the most basic form of a spell, kind of in the way that we're talking about it, like, right now in this conversation, is a name, right? Like, by naming something in a lot of mythologies, by naming something, you get power over it. And that, we can even take that back to the Bible, like to the Garden of Eden in Genesis, when God gave Adam the ability to name all of the animals and thereby gain dominion over them. Like, the idea of being able to speak something into reality is as old as written history.
Damn, that's beautiful.
Emily just looked at me with like the most beautiful face because it just moved. What you just said. Just
In
moved
fairness
her so
to me,
much.
I'm a writer, so this is like...
Yeah, Emily's a big word nerd, so yeah, I feel like this is right up her alley. Yeah, I love it.
Well, I will. They say in a lot of witchcraft circles that storytelling is a godlike power. So
I love that.
honor that pen.
Yeah.
It can make and unmake worlds, like you were saying.
Absolutely. I mean, well, that's the thing. Emily also went to NYU and Tisch, and so did Rowan and I. And like we all
what up?
Hey!
Student loans. Okay, so
See you at Alumni Day. Never!
but we all come from, storytelling backgrounds. We all come from artistic backgrounds. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like I know I've dedicated my life to storytelling. I know you both have as well. So, of course, it's a powerful thing. Like, of course, it's a beautiful thing and a magic thing. So, going off of Malinowski's, book, he also said that the language of magic is sacred, set and used for an entirely different purpose than that of ordinary life. The two forms of language, he believed, are differentiated through word choice, grammar, style, or use of specific phrases or forms. But the idea of using like prayers, spells, songs, blessings, chants, those are sacred modes of language that often kind of employ archaic words or forms in an attempt to invoke the purity or truth of like a golden age, either religious or cultural, i.e. using Hebrew and Judaism, which is still obviously a common modern day practice in like a lot of rituals and practices, which I really love that as well. I think that's really beautiful. I mean, you could even say actors, viewing Shakespeare as like as canon is part of that too. It's elevated.
Man, Shakespeare's all up in this stuff.
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Willie loved that shit.
He was a
he
witch.
was such a witch. He was a pansexual witch, and probably an alcoholic, and I love him. Okay.
It's got everything.
Anyway, moving on to the 8 main types of magic. I got this, and this is very broad, of course, but I got this from a website called wickedspells.info. I couldn't figure out who wrote it. .info. I'm sure wickedspells.com was like taken. But I feel like whoever wrote this, I'll say they because I don't know who wrote it, but they kind of just do a very top line of 8 main types of magic, which I also kind of feel like can and do intertwine with each other, or that the practitioner can use elements of all of these together. But I really liked the succinct way it kind of goes down the list. So the first one is high magic, which is very ceremonial or ritualized. It's pretty intricate and elaborate. It usually takes training and can be very powerful when mastered. It uses a lot of things like symbolism, complex astrology, numerology, and sometimes summoning of other worldly entities or higher powers. It's usually, aimed towards spiritual growth and higher purposes. And then there's low magic, which is also known as earth magic, which is can also be aimed at spiritual growth, but it's usually more with kind of everyday life desires. So it can be ritualized or not at all. It's usually less ritualized than high magic, and it kind of relies more on instinct, spontaneity, creativity, and they're not necessarily, one's not better than the other. It's just kind of, the example the writer gave was classical music versus jazz, which I loved. It's just down to personal preference. And I was like, oh, okay, the kind of magic that I, in my very novice, witch experience have performed is probably definitely more closer to like lower earth magic. Then of course there's divination, which we talked a little bit about with our tarot episode, and that we'll also talk about in our next episode. Rowan, we're bringing in a medium, so that'll be super fun. Yeah,
Word indeed.
Yeah, so that'll be that. Of course, involves any type of magic about where the goal is to look into the future and figure out what lies in store. Not necessarily like set in stone, this is going to happen, like they show in the movies, but more just like if I stay on this current path or I do nothing, very, very much what we talked about in tarot, but I Ching, runes, tea leaf readings, pendulums, scrying, which is like crystal balls or using an object or a mirror to kind of, intuit messages. Those are all falling under divination. It's also a class in the Harry Potter school. So, which by the way, when I was doing research, everything that came up was about Harry Potter.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
if you Google potions and spells, you're gonna get Harry Potter.
it's like, come on, JK Rowling. Okay.
It's true, but by the end of Witchcast, every listener will be fully qualified to pass their Owl exam.
Yes. Oh wait, real quick, can we talk about what house you'd be in?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Rowan, what
always.
house-
This is one of my favorite
What house of
topics.
Hogwarts would you be in?
Okay, so I feel like... All right, here's my story. Basically, I've been sorted 3 times in Pottermore because I
Yes.
keep losing my
Same.
login information.
Girl, same.
And 2 times, the first and the last time I was sorted into Gryffindor, and the middle time I was sorted into Slytherin. So personally, I had just have realized that I actually am Harry Potter. You know, just like living on that edge.
Exactly the same, dude. I have gotten Gryffindor twice and Slytherin once, but I've also gotten Ravenclaw because I've also done it like 4 times. But personally, I like to think I used to be Gryffindor, but now I'm a Slytherin.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I identify as a Ravenclaw. I usually get sorted into Gryffindor, but I know that I would accept Ravenclaw,
Yeah.
so I feel like if I'm the sorting hat, I'm going to put me in Ravenclaw because there's a lot of people wanting to get into Gryffindor, you know? And I would be perfectly fine with Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
But I
think a lot of
usually
people
get
like
sorted
Ravenclaw,
in quizzes into like
though. Gryffindor.
Gryffindor, if
I
I'm
could
being
see
honest.
you
But sometimes Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I will say this, though. Even though my house has changed, my wand is always the exact same.
Oh. Wait, that reminds me. I fucking learned about where wands came from today.
Oh, wait, real quick, can you talk about that? Because I want to know.
Okay, so in medieval, like medicine and magic, they used wands. I'm sure there are like 1,000 other places that it maybe came from, but they used wands to like apply things to sick people and that kind of thing.
Oh, no way. They were like applicators.
Yeah. Basically. I mean, it's like, and they would like, you know, use it for like, you know, because they were talking and they were putting shit on you and that kind of thing, but the wand was like a part of it.
Oh.
That's a super top line overview because I
That's so
skimmed the
cool,
article,
though.
but you get the idea. I was like,
I love that.
I was like,
had
wait,
no
what?
idea.
And it was one of those things, I saw it like 5 minutes before we were doing the episode, and I was like, I gotta read this thing.
I was just picturing some like old medieval dude like dipping like a wooden stick in some goop and just like slathering it
that's
on
basically.
someone.
That's basically.
Okay, cool.
Also, apparently, brooms, like witches, maybe, I don't know. This is from one of the articles I read today. I'm assuming all of these sources are fine, but we'll see. But brooms, like witches, put a specific thing, like a salve on them that would like maybe cause
A flying ointment.
Yes, a flying ointment. Thank you.
What? A flying ointment?
Yeah. It wouldn't make you actually fly, but it would make you like sort of have like hallucinations that you were flying. But the stuff that was in that is now used for anti-nausea medication.
Shit,
So
dude.
fuck you, modern medicine. You're taking witchcraft everywhere you go.
That's
Appropriation.
witchcraft appropriation. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's
had
like
no
in
idea.
higher doses. They would do it either on their genitalia or
Naturally.
in their armpits, because that would avoid, like, it could be poisonous if it got into your stomach.
Oh.
But in those places, it would just give this feeling like you were flying, sort of, or like kind of like hallucinations and like and stuff. Is this right, Rowan?
Yeah.
Am I basically on the right track?
Yeah, I actually make a flying ointment, which is still on my Etsy store.
That is so cool.
But I always recommend that people, when I use it, I usually apply it to the bottoms of my feet.
I like that.
Because that's another those, your armpits, you know, your genitals, they're hyper absorbent areas. And so that's why they're effective places to apply it. But you also need to really know, you know, like what you're putting on and how much you're using and all of that, because since it is the basis for medicine, you know, like dosage is a very real thing. And since they are mildly hallucinogenic, you want to be careful.
Yeah, didn't you send me some flying ointment?
I sent you a bunch of stuff. I think there was an Oshun's like honey ointment. There might have been a flying ointment in there too.
No, it was the honey ointment. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want, I'll send you the flying one. Now you guys know, so you can
I know.
test it out.
Well, yeah, I'd love
Make
to.
sure that your brooms are like very smooth.
Done.
Yes.
It makes me also think of like, I don't know if you've ever done this, but have you ever used like sexual enhancement creams?
Not on purpose.
Well, anyway.
I've had clients ask me to make them for them, actually, like to help
Dosage is
cure, like,
important.
you know, libido problems or whatever. It's real.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them have like menthol type things in them, and you have to just be careful about it. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Anyway, types of magic. Go on.
Anyway, okay, so types of magic. Continuing on. There's also sympathetic magic, which I didn't realize that this is what it's called, but it's when you use an object to represent someone. So that's like voodoo dolls are very common, right? That's a common form. But using a lock of hair or a photo, a doll or a puppet, that belongs to a person that you're doing the spell for. That is sympathetic magic. That all falls under that. Also, then there's talismanic magic, which, like Emily was saying, that goes back to a talisman or amulet. It's, an object that has been charmed, which then I had to go and look up the definition of charmed, because I realized I know the show, but I've never, I don't really understand, what charmed means. Rowan, can you speak to that a little? Of, what does it mean when an object is charmed?
Sure. So I'll speak sort of anecdotally as well. So I used to work at this witch store in Oakland called the Sacred Well. Now it's called the Raven's Wing. And when I was working there, I was surprised when it first started happening. But people would regularly ask me to bless their objects, like their crystals or their necklaces or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And it took me a minute. And I think basically it was that, when you charm something, it's basically kind of the way that I view it is like blessing it or praying over it. You're taking something and you're making it more than what it was. One of my really, really good friends, Devin Hunter, who runs modernwitch.com, where Durgadas is writing. Hey. He's also the author of several books on witchcraft, like the Witch's Book of Power, the Witch's Book of Spirits. He said once that, a cup is a cup until it's not a cup. A wand is a wand until it's not a wand. Huh. And basically, you have to, reach out ecstatically through your spirit and engage this object that's a part of the living universe and wake it up, and bring it to life, and you speak to it from your heart, and you tell it what its intention or what your intention for it is, and you feed that energy inside of it. And that's how you charm an object. That's how you take a rock and make it not a rock. That's how you take a wand and make it be more than just a wand. You bring it to life magically.
I love that. That's beautiful.
That, and you know what? That sort of connects to what Laura was talking about with healing crystals.
Totally. I was just thinking that.
Giving the crystals a job.
Yeah, giving the crystals a job.
Totally.
And a 401k. Okay. So the next,
they're all on my health
That's beautiful.
Insurance.
Well said, Ron. So another form of magic is folk magic, which we talked about. This is passed down through families or cultures, like what Emily was saying, the roots of spellcasting and magic. It's one of the least ritualized, most spontaneous forms of magic. It usually involves chants, gestures, symbols, natural items. It's very practical and, quote, ready to go, which I love. But examples that this writer had was drawing a hex sign on a doorway to ward off evil, a healing chant muttered over a burn, or sprinkling lavender around a bed for a peaceful night's sleep. And I love that because that also brought to mind a lot of things. It's, what is the thing in Judaism when you put it on the door, in the doorway before you walk in?
Oh.
A mezuzah.
A mezuzah.
That's, to me, also made me think of that. Or
our producer Dan is here.
Our producer Dan is here. Our resident Judaism
Hi, producer Dan.
Rose says hi. But, or dream catchers, or I used to have these little woven dolls, when I was a kid, that I forget where I got them from. I think they're from a native culture, but I would put them. You're supposed to put them under your pillow when you go to bed, and then they're supposed to help, ward off nightmares. Right. So yeah, I think
a Guatemalan worry doll.
Yes, it was probably a form of that. They were several little tiny, 1-inch tall dolls that I would keep in a little pouch.
Yeah, and you tell them your worry. They're for kids, and children tell them their worries before they go to bed, and then the dolls take them away in their sleep. And by the time you wake up, your worries are gone.
Damn, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's what they were. I honestly can't remember where I got them from.
I need a bag of worry dolls.
I need a whole case.
I just make a to-do list. I have a worry pen.
Yeah, but now I have worry vodka.
Hey.
Worry wine. Okay. Yeah. So all of that to me, I think, falls under the same kind of world as folk magic, right? I think it's like I was sick a few days ago, and one of the women I was working with on this film shoot was like, "Oh, you should take water, honey, garlic, and lemon juice, and boil it with apple cider vinegar, and then take a shot of that before you go to bed, and it'll help clear out your sinuses." And I was like, "Cool, that's totally folky, and I'm gonna do that."
Yeah.
And it worked. It totally worked. It was like my brother used to get a lot of bloody noses, and one time the doctor was like, "Next time he has a bloody nose, smack the bottom of his feet like 3 times or something."
What?
And we would do that, and it would stop bloody noses instantly.
That's wild.
And it can't be explained. It just works. I love it. Anyway, okay, another one, a big one, is elemental magic, which uses the energies of the elements earth, air, fire, water. And one could say that, candle magic, herbal magic, crystals, metal, musical magic, color, rune, tarot, moon, using the, phases of the moon, our planets, all fall under this elemental magic category because they all utilize some sort of elements. Even like very traditional Wicca, I know you have, like a bowl of water and then a bowl of salt, and then you have 2 candles, when you set up your altar, all of that involves the elements, right? And then of course there's petition magic, which is like prayer. It's calling on a higher power, whether that be the god and goddess, whether it be another god or goddess that you like to call on, or many. It could just be the universe, whoever you're asking to help grant you what you desire. And that's what is categorized under petition magic. Anything to add to that, Rowan? Anything I'm missing or wrong about?
No. I feel like the thing, those are 8 great ways of classifying magic. We were sort of saying earlier in the podcast, these things come from all sorts of cultures, and it really depends on how you look at it. Everything is kind of a matter of perspective. And things like candle magic can be part elemental magic. They can be part low magic. They can be part devotional if you're lighting a candle for the Virgin Mary, or whatever. So like you were saying, it's possible to practice multiple types of magic at the same time. And it's really about figuring out how to connect the dots in ways that are spiritually fulfilling and resonant and create the picture that you're trying to create.
Yeah, totally. And I love that. And again, this all just, I think, goes back to the practitioner and what works for you.
Yeah, what you connect with.
Yeah, totally. And so then I looked into different types of potions, and this is very top line. Emily kind of talked about what a potion is. It's some kind of, liquid that's enchanted of some sort that can be drunk or used topically, and then I went down to break down what are all the different types of potions. So you have infusions, right? Like a tea when you steep something. There's a filter, which is usually a love potion, or draft, which is like the same. It's spelled draught, but I didn't know this. It's pronounced draft.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I thought it was pronounced drop. Okay. There's brews, which that's also synonymous with potion, but like beer is a brew, coffee is a brew, same kind of thing. There's elixirs. They're not infused. It's when things are dissolved completely into the base. There's suspensions when they can't fully dissolve, which makes me think of like bubble tea. But
the bubble tea of potions.
The bubble tea of potions. Or what was that drink in the 90s that had all those little weird balls inside of it?
I don't know. It sounds like this is actually more like when you mix oil and vinegar and you shake it together to make it, or you have to combine it because
right.
it won't
fully.
Yeah, it doesn't combine,
blend,
but you can kind of get it mixed up.
It's still, absolutely. That's totally a suspension. And then great segue into oil. And oil extraction is when you extract natural oils from a plant, like essential oils. People love those, right? Same thing. And oil infusion is when you steep herbs in oils. And then I looked into also powders. So that I don't know, Rowan, do you classify powders as part of the potion category?
I guess it depends on how you think about it. Because if we're thinking about potions as being exclusively liquid, then powders probably don't belong there. But some powders are made from things like, mud, or have a little bit of honey or, a clay in them. And so they're kind of, part solid and part not. I would, for the sake of the argument, I'd say, yeah, powders are potions. Why not?
Yeah, to me, when I think potion, I guess personally, I just think of some sort of concoction, some sort of material concoction that you use to aid in your spellcasting or magic in any kind of variety. But usually like a blending of something. You take a few things like, and I guess like herbal magic is kind of you could argue that's a completely separate and very vast thing we should cover as well. But, I am so interested in learning more about powder. So that could be herbs and woods, spices, ground crystals or minerals even, that are blended together to create some sort of powder. You can sprinkle them around or blow them out into the wind. There's a lot of different uses. And you can put them in a sachet or in a pillow, which is like a, porous fabric container that smells nice and carried around with you.
That's a sachet. A pillow, I think we can... Sorry, I was trying to help you, but it sounded so much sassier than I meant it to.
No, I love it. A pillow, we can what?
We know what to put.
Yeah.
Because you were just finding a sachet.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that was a sachet. You're right, though. That was a sachet definition.
Yeah. It sounded like you were defining pillow, but...
pillow. It's like this thing where you put something in the fabric and then...
It's one of the tools of the witch.
I don't know if you've heard of pillow. It's from the Greek.
The witch snoozes gently upon it.
Introduced by Gerald Gardner. It's true.
Well, and there is like a powder or like herbal pillow. It's just like that. Instead of a sachet, it's a little more tightly bounded that you can put under your head. I'm kidding. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so then I went to our good friends over at Sylphrin Circle. I don't know if you heard this, Ron, but we partnered with Sylphrin Circle, which is a really great witchy resource, and they're lovely people over there, and very graciously, are helping kind of put the word out about our podcast, but they also provide a lot of resources for witches.
Yeah, especially for like beginner witches. And that kind of thing.
Word.
Like blog. Yeah, it's awesome. Like blog articles. They have, basically you want to get reading done. It's like a network. It's like a hub.
Yeah, it's like, they have a whole bunch of different sort of connected witchy people that do a whole bunch of different things and then blog for them and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. So one of their witchy writers, Kristen, did a really great kind of top line article about like, okay, you want to cast a spell? Here are the steps you need to take. So, and Roan, please feel free to correct me or chime in at any time. Step 1, deciding what type of spell to cast. A lot of times for first timers, popular ones are initiation rituals if you want to initiate yourself into a certain practice, or a protection spell, or a full moon ritual, or sometimes a glamour spell, because who doesn't want to try and turn their hair blonde like in The Craft? Or, make that pimple go away. I don't know. I've never done a glamour spell, to be honest. I would love to try that, though.
We'll give it a shot some full moon or something.
We should. Oh, actually, it's a full moon. Well, we're recording this. We released this on Thursday, but we're recording this Tuesday is a full moon.
Oh.
Yes. And you should decide if you want to write your own spell or if you want to use one that you found, which both are fine. And then picking a day. Next step, pick a time and day that you want to cast it. Like Emily said, pick a full moon or not, or a certain hour. And that can help kind of magnify the success of your spell. And then collect all your materials, right? You have to get everything together that you need to practice your magic, whether that's, something I really love that Kristen wrote in this entry is that all you need to practice magic really is yourself. You can sit in a room with, quote, nothing but your own beautiful magic-filled mind and cast the greatest spell you've ever cast if you really believe in yourself and want it enough. But it's, for a lot of practitioners, having the tools and environment in which to work on really help with that aesthetic. A lot of kind of top line list of supplies you might want to get if you want to cast a spell: candles, herbs, essential oils, salt, sage, paper, colored ink, an athame. How do you pronounce that, Rowan?
Athame.
Athame. We talked about this earlier in the tarot episode, but an athame is or an athame. I don't know. It's a knife. It's like a ceremonial knife that you use.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people. There's like kind of a split some Western witches use the athame like more to like cast the circle, literally like carving the space in between worlds. In like high ceremonial magic, you sometimes see it used to like subjugate spirits or whatever, like, you know, sort of like get aggro witch on them, if you want to. But basically it's used in the same way as a wand.
And then, okay, so moving on to step 4, like we said, casting your circle, prepping your space. You want to kind of make sure that wherever you're doing it is ready, and you need to get to work so that some people sage it, some people clean it. I think that's also where like the brooms come in, like, you know, you can kind of metaphorically sweep away any negative energies or something like that. And you want to, you know, do it outdoors or indoors, you want privacy, etc. However you decide to do it. Prepping that space is important. And then beginning, step 5, beginning to actually do the spell, raising your energy. So I got a little nervous when I read this because I was like, oh, when you say like raising your energy, that sounds so like intense to me, but it's really just about grounding yourself, meditating on the spell of what you're about to do, focusing fully on your project, right? So it could be lighting a candle and sending your energy to it. It could be lighting some incense or like just kind of like shaking off, you know, your day and like, you know, turning off your phone or something and just being able to like focus in. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say since we all come, you know, from a theatrical background here, it's getting performance ready. It's like getting ready to go on stage. You know, you got to shift your consciousness out from your normal life. Like, no one cares what happened to you on the 6 train, girl. You got to go live shit and make it real. And that's really what like raising your energy is about.
Yeah, I love that.
If you're on Broadway, you got to do this 8 times a week, so you better be.
Raise that energy. Yeah. And then step 6, which I really never do, and I really should do this because my dresser right now is just full of old candle wax, but disposing of your spell remains and closing. I do try to do that. Anytime I light a candle or do a little tiny little ritual for myself, I do try to like, you know, do a little thank you and shake off the excess energy I've built up or whatever. But disposing, so you want to close kind of the circle or whatever you're doing, you know, and kind of tie a nice bow on that, be like, okay, I'm done. And then dispose of the remains from your spell tools, however, you know, works best, whether it be burying them or etc. Okay.
I agree.
So that's all I have. Rowan, so how do you practice your spells and potions? And also, like you mentioned earlier, you have an Etsy store. You create, it's a beautiful store, and you create spell casting tools and potions and elixirs and powders and oils. Can you talk a bit about your practice and your tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, like earlier you were describing like high magic versus low magic. And I am totally a low magic queen.
Yes.
Like for me, it's all about magic is a way of getting the universe to respond to your needs, right? And so it doesn't make sense to be like, and you must have a golden dagger forged under a new moon in Pisces, you know, like bullshit. Like, what the fuck is that? It's all about making it accessible. So a lot of my training and engagement comes from various forms of folk magic. I've apprenticed pretty heavily in hoodoo. From Kat Ironwood, who runs Lucky Mojo, and Chaz Bagan, who runs The Mystic Dream and teaches modern conjure. Hoodoo is also known as conjure or root work, and it's a form of American folk magic that is largely African roots, but also has a lot of Judaism mixed in there, or Jewish mysticism, has native herbal lore and practices mixed in, spiritualism, all sorts of stuff thrown inside. And then also from studying like my ancestral practices in the Philippines, I've come upon a lot of folk magic. And so basically, like when I think about casting a spell, there's kind of 2 parts to it. I really, really believe that in order to be an effective witch and in order to seek the sort of peace and resolution that we're looking for when we engage in magic, we have to be in an ecstatic relationship with the universe. Like you have to approach the universe like it's a lover. And so at the very beginning, it's all about paying attention to them, like learning about the rose and its fragrance and the way that it relates to the sun and the way that it relates to the moon and the, different seasons. And then when you have that relationship with the rose, that ecstatic connection, you can take it and you can brew its petals. You can add them into your sangria and you can make a love potion because you have spent that time nurturing that relationship. And so I feel like spellcasting, so there's two main parts that you kind of talked about as different forms of magic, but to me, they're different parts in the sequence. Like first there's divination, where you figure out, okay, I know that I want that man over there, but will me doing the first spell that comes to mind get me what I want? So you do some divination on this subject, and that can be anything from drawing tarot cards to sitting and meditating, or journaling, what comes through in your dreams. But somehow you are dancing with the universe and you are following and you're letting it lead you to the best solution and the best awareness of what's actually going on. Then when it comes time to cast your spell, you're continuing to hold the universe's hand, but instead you tell it where to go. You give it the moves to make and tell it where to go next. And that's how we start to manipulate reality. We say, I've taken all of this energy inside of you, universe, all this energy from the rose, all this energy from the moon, all this energy from my heart, and I've woven them together. And when I lean on all of this, you respond to me because I have your attention and I know how to talk to you. And that's really what witchcraft is. It's kind of the same thing as saying a prayer or, blowing out a birthday candle.
Yeah, I love that. But the way you describe it is so sexy. It's like, I think that's so beautiful. I love that. The idea of holding hands with the universe and getting to know your tools as a lover. That's really,
I think witchcraft really is sexy. I can't get out of it.
Sexy.
I'm sorry.
I love that.
I would agree. I was actually just telling Emily, I was looking at the Silk Friend Circle website and they have photos of all their blog writers. And I was like, oh, witches are so pretty. I was like, we're all really hot. That's beautiful, Rowan. I love that. So, how do you come up with your ingredients and your formulas for your different tools that you sell?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I've studied a lot of different traditions, and some people get really focused on what's the correct recipe for this? There is only one true recipe, and I really believe in honoring tradition. But one of the other things, we were talking about, a lot of these things stemming from early forms of pharmacy and stuff, is that you have to work with what's at hand. So I will often find, I study what I'm doing well enough to be able to riff on it and adapt. If say it's calling for an herb that I just don't have access to, deer's tongue is kind of hard to find sometimes, but I know that deer's tongue's a form of vanilla. So maybe I'll just use vanilla in my spell instead. And then to be honest, a lot of it is that I have been apprenticing and studying with people who do this professionally for the past 12 years. And that's just kind of how I got to where I am. But I believe in making magic very normalized, very accessible, very affordable. Just another way of artistically responding to the universe and co-creating with it. So that Etsy store that you mentioned, since I'm so bad at mentioning these things too, is also, my last name is Rivers, and my shop is called River Witch. So that's River Witch Shop on Etsy or River Witch on Facebook and Instagram. I gotta check my Google domains and make sure I still have riverwitch.com registered. But that's where I live online too.
Hashtag Mercury retrograde. Yeah, no, I love your branding, honestly, is really beautiful. It's and your stuff is lovely. I've been lucky enough to be blessed with some of your concoctions, and I really enjoy them. I've been using your Crown of Success oil for years. So.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. Cool. I have one question I do want to ask you, because you and I have talked about this in the past. Hexes, curses.
Yes, witch.
Yes. Yes or no? I mean, look, Wicca is always Andy, do what you will and it harm none. But what do you believe? What's your theory on that?
Yeah, so I don't believe that the universe follows a harm ye none rule. And my relationship with witchcraft is all about connecting with the universe on its own terms. So I'm just not that kind of girl. I'm not a witch who pays attention to the law of threefold return. I am someone who is intensely focused on personal ethics and personal accountability. And like how we were talking about earlier, that the witches were kind of some of the earliest forms of doctors, and especially in rural societies, they were also the earliest forms of judges sometimes. And that's where you start to see hexes and curses come into play. And in my opinion, they are justified sometimes because our legal system does not and has not ever represented everybody equally. And sometimes you just got to pray and hope that someone's listening, you know, and if that means like, oh, this person did something really, really horrible to someone that I love, and I have sought, you know, I always, before you curse someone, try to take care of it the way that muggles do. But like, if that don't work for you, then, I personally have cursed. I do it on very careful occasions when I'm certain that there's no other option for taking care of my problems, but you also have to get ready for backlash because you're working with some yucky stuff, and then you have to like do intense cleansing to get all that yucky stuff off of you. And there have been times when I have cursed people and immediately I was cursing someone to lose their job and the next day they were fired. But also I ended up facing a lot of personal problems that resulted from it indirectly. Like the universe was like, oh, you thought you could escape this bitch. You know, but like there's still a little bit of backsplash. So you have to make sure, one, that you're justified, and B, that you know how to like cleanse yourself so that you're not just bringing all that nastiness down on your own head.
Wow. Nice. Intense stuff. I feel like we could do a whole episode just about that too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love your guys' podcast.
Oh, we love you. So we, as you know, we like to draw a card of a tarot deck or a crystal deck at the end of every episode, but I know Rowan has also given me a lot of tarot readings in the past, and you're a tarot reader yourself. Would you like to draw a card for the week?
Absolutely. So I got out my deck, or one of my, I think I've got about 27 decks at this point.
Oh my God.
And that's
so great.
That's like not all the ones I lost or anything. But
yeah, that sounds about right.
So right now I have with me the Game of Thrones tarot deck because our lovely witch in residence, Miss Kate Moran, was helping me do an Instagram series called Game of Snow, where I did tarot predictions on the Game of Thrones season.
Yes, so fun.
Amazing.
So that's the deck.
And they were all like so accurate too. All of your Game of Thrones readings, I felt like were totally in tune.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things I always do when I'm giving a tarot reading, so like you'll notice that there's lots of like different beliefs that people have about how you should shuffle the cards, or if the other person should shuffle them, or 7 times or whatever. My whole thing is that I just pray while I'm shuffling, and by the time I'm done praying, I'm done shuffling. So before we got started, I went ahead and prayed and shuffled, and the card that I pulled was the Queen of Cups. So, for you Game of Thrones fans out there, this is a picture of Sansa. It's like season 4 or something. She's at King's Landing praying to the old gods, which is actually a really beautiful image for the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is such a perfect card for the witch. It's being in a state of total receptivity for the universe. The Queen of Cups can often represent mothers in our lives, but often not the mothers who actually gave birth to us. More like devout nurturers and people who really believed in us and made us feel loved. She's also a spiritual guide. When she shows up in a tarot reading, just since I am the only one without a uterus here, I will mention she often can signal that fertility is increased in the present moment.
Emily and I both were like,
Cross your legs.
Yeah, and she's also just like a deep artist and like innately a creator. That's just like what she does. She receives from the universe and then she gives it new life.
Amazing. That's such a good card. Well, yes, please take a photo of that card and we'll post it on our Instagram when we this episode goes live. And like you said, so people can find you on Instagram and Facebook at River Witch Shop, and on your Etsy store at River Witch Shop as well, right?
That is correct. And I'm also going to be managing the witch store called The Mystic Dream in Walnut Creek, starting in 2 weeks. And so you'll be able to either meet up with me in person or book a tarot reading over the phone there as well.
Lovely. That's
my
amazing.
gosh.
Well, thank you so much.
Should we go to Walnut Creek?
Yeah, let's go to Walnut Creek. Honestly, I feel like New York's going down, so like let's get out. Let's go on a trip.
Yeah.
There's some weird.
We
energy.
had that blackout.
I know.
It's been weird here.
Mercury retrograde.
Dun dun dun.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you again so much, Rowan. And would you say our slogan for it with us?
Oh my god, I've been waiting for this.
Okay, well, that's it for Witchcast Podcast. And until next time.
Hex yeah!
'Cause it's Witchcast.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Are we okay? We're just talking in unison.
No.